We need edgy games back. This is by Cyber. The thumbnail was Darksiders. I love Darksiders. I've never played them, but I watched gameplay when I was younger and I fell in love. So this intrigued me. We need edgy games back.
What does it mean to be edgy? For many people, it means being weird, tribal, standing out in an awkward, uncomfortable way, cringe, in essence. Something too intense, too dramatic, or too extra. But to me, being edgy means being yourself,
cool.
the flair of a lost age in games, the type of spark that used to define characters and whole genres, in a way that is so
being edgy, just being cool. And going against the social norm, I feel like. Think about it. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like back in the day, GTA, I feel like back in the day when it first came out was edgy. Now, the way everything has changed, it's more normalized. Everybody plays GTA. Everybody knows what GTA is.
Distant and faded amidst an ocean of safe, sanitized stories. And I already see people rolling their eyes by just hearing me or seeing the thumb and title. I know some will ride with me and others will go against me. But no matter your opinion, would you kindly bear with me? To understand the rise of edgy culture, we must go...
That is an edgy game. God damn. Shadow the Hedgehog.
Way back and understand the late 90s and early 2000s.
I feel like that was such... everything was edgy back there.
When cheerful, cute mascots, goofy protagonists, and good boy scouts were all flipped into sarcastic little animals, buff dudes, and the coolest anti-heroes ever.
Look at this shit.
And that happened because everyone wanted some...
That shit... Bro, that's just... Oh my god, I can't wait to bite into this.
Against the common. Everyone wanted to feel cool and to rise against their parents with games that they didn't want in the house, blasting music that was called devil worship, and media that embraced violence, attitude, or rebellion. There was a huge trade from the bright, colorful era to the raw and unfiltered. Cruelty was turned up just a notch and stylized beyond recognition. Simply the coolest thing ever. So cool, in fact, that many franchises got a revitalization because of it. Jak 2 was a complete change from Jak 1. Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess spat in the face of the universes before them.
I've never played any Zelda game, but these two games are the ones I want to, that make me want to play. They look so fucking cool.
Straying away from classic Zelda to a more gritty one. Prince of Persia went from a Disney fairy tale to a gothic, metal, blood-shattering awesomeness, and so many more. When this culture struck, games changed. Everything got bolder and serious, dramatic, into a certain ironic way, more alive. And that aesthetic defined the era I grew up with. And honestly, as someone who loves this, I have to say that most people don't even know what edgy means anymore. I still see them call Mortal Kombat edgy, and violence stopped being...
I feel like Mortal Kombat was edgy back in the 2000s and the 90s. Now I feel like this time, like I said, GTA, bro, that's normalized now. Mortal Kombat, normal, but this is another Tuesday, bro. Like,
edgy decades ago. Gore isn't shocking, and the same goes for sexual content. Family Guy made fun of how trivial both are over 20 years ago in its intro. And when something becomes a meta joke, it becomes normal. Gore is as mainstream as it gets. Deadpool made billions. Almost every AAA game has dismemberment system. TV is constantly trying to outgrow itself, and promiscuity became normalized. Real edginess isn't blood or sex. It's as simple as personality. It's the attitude you show to the world. And I'd say the edgiest thing today are those Christian montage edits with slowed plus reverb and that skull emoji. I don't get it because I'm old. And that's not because religion is cool per se. It's just because it goes against the current safe cultural vibe of atheism. But I'll get back to that in a moment. Going back in track, dudes like Virgil, Alex Mercer, or Prince weren't edgy because they were simply spilling blood. It's because they were cool and the stories allowed them to be cool. Their worlds treated them with seriousness and weight. Anything like that nowadays would be turned into a Reddit-like joke.
What is
If you were to
that?
take one of the most underrated edgelords of all time and one of my personal favorites, War from Darksiders. You'll see a franchise that works pretty well due to conviction.
I go lie, Darksiders 2 is probably the best game in the whole series.
Everything from character design, line delivery, tone, all of it leans into the aesthetic without fear. War looks like Arthas, a space marine, and Kratos had a gangbang,
What the fuck?
and he was born out of it. Peak character design. War is honorable, unshakable, focused on pushing towards his goal of restoring equilibrium, and the reason why it works so much is because the game doesn't mock him for any of this. Sure, he gets manipulated, makes mistakes, and people talk down to him, but he's never toned down and always treated like a badass no matter the situation. And that is exactly the secret behind this writing, or any type of writing, really. The moment you take a character like Batman and say, you are just a man in a batsuit, you kill the magic.
Yeah.
Suspension of disbelief matters because it lets you enjoy something in its own terms. But it still needs to be, good. Sure, edgy material can be dumb if it's poorly written. But when the labeling of everything is cringe, strike before it gets a chance to spark again, that is when things get so stale and predictable that they become creatively bankrupt. And that makes me ask you, why do so many modern games feel the same? And the reason for it...
Because you have one big game that works, and then all the other games want to copy it. Arc Raiders is blowing up right now. Expedition 33 blowing up right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we get more Expedition 33 type of games. But that formula, I'm talking about. What game is this? Alloy, Horizon, Uncharted, Spider-Man, God of War. They're all linear story based games now, which I'm not mad about. I love a good story game, but you can tell the game industry is very complacent with where they're at right now. Nobody's pushing the envelope. Expedition 33, like I said, did. If you do that and it works, then Dispatch 2. I feel like we haven't had a game like that in a minute. We had Telltale games. I remember those Minecraft Telltale games, the Walking Dead games, the Batman games, but we haven't had one of those in a minute either. And then Dispatch came out of nowhere, so that's probably why.
Is because everything is made to mimic reality, even when it's set in a totally different world from ours. Everything needs to be grounded, safe, cinematic. Like I mentioned on my last video, you would never get scenes today like,
that nickname you love so much. Want to know how I got it? Actually, why don't I give you a demonstration? I think it's time for Jack to let her rip.
Oh, that's
characters
cold.
like that disappeared because everyone
What is
writes
that?
with the
Max
same
Payne?
mindset. Boldness died the moment we stopped
Oh my God,
striving
the
for
original
unreal
God of
and
War.
started to imitate the terrible world of Hollywood. And this is exactly when all this died. The moment safe edge became normalized. On a slight tangent of the usage of
Bro, I need to play
writing
Final
across
Fantasy.
all medias, there was a time when saying God isn't
What
real
is
or
that?
making a priest the antagonist was shocking. Now it's just the safest, most predictable choice in the book and really boring. Everyone has seen the Christian's bad trope for 30 years straight. That's not subversive, it's just saturated. Same as criticizing capitalism. It's just expected. I even talked about it in a video you can check out. But to revive such style nowadays, the way it's intended to be, there needs to exist a clash of perspectives, friction and plurality. Something impossible because a modern writer's room
What
are
is
all
this?
filled with people that think the same. And these snowflakes
What
hate
is
when you
this?
poke fun of their beliefs, or simply don't want them in games. And when you cannot confront the flaws in the things you like, you
Is
will
that
never
Asura's
be
Wrath?
able to create a good different, and meaningful story with soul. And many studios would rather sink financially than risking stepping outside that comfort zone. Modern day edgy writing would make a lot of people mad, and a lot of people happy, because it's anti-media. And modern day anti-media would be complicated. And the most frustrating part is that
Darksiders 2.
talented people
Holy.
around. It's because of the culture that was built.
I have these games lined up to play on stream. I don't know when. I don't know like how far into the future, how far down the line, but I bought them on Steam. They were on sale. Not Black Friday like this year. Like I bought them like a while ago. I'm gonna cook. Maybe when Darksiders 4 comes out, I'll do a marathon. Not an actual subathon or anything. I could do a marathon and then play through all of these because I need to play these.
This culture where anything that goes against the X and Reddit mobs results in risks of doxing, lawsuits, and outrage created the phenomenon of toxic positivity. And ironically, if you aren't aligned with their train of thought, you cannot be marketable. Unless you bow down to a sanitized, universal, and safe direction saying the exact same, copy-pasted from the mainstream, you will be labeled as a villain. And when everything becomes identical,
Damn, Suicide Squad.
stop being challenged. Your critical thinking dies. You're told what to feel and how to think. All this because people hate when stuff they don't like gets a chance.
Stellar Blade. I gotta play Stellar
The
Blade.
thought of something they disagree with gets a highlight makes them furious. But back in the day, we had all kind of stories. From the grounded, to the weird, to the stylish, to the bizarre.
Ooh.
You had an opportunity to try and see what stuck. There was room for experimentation and people to follow it. And that contrast is so obvious that when you look at Eastern media like anime, manga, games, and so on, they still embrace crazy stuff and appeal to what people want. The reason why they dominate every medium nowadays is because they still carry a sense of artistic freedom. It's not just big boobs and cool dudes, it's personality and plurality. And the Western fiends are trying to sanitize even the Asian titles, for fuck's sake. Changing dialogue, censoring, etc. Such miserable creatures they are.
Man, they're gentrifying that shit.
To end this with a good note, we don't need to bring back the 2000s as a whole. I am not like a millennial that thinks only their childhood was good. We need true diversity and new fresh heads to create, like back in the day. When you look at it,
that's such a bad way to think about gaming or anything in general, because you can have appreciation and a soft spot for the stuff of your childhood and of the past and stuff, but we can't move forward if you're stuck on that. Let it be great for when it was and what it was, but that can be built upon and make something else great. Don't let it hold you back.
The ability to produce or use original and unusual ideas. So, how did video games, the medium with the most potential for imagination, ended up producing some of the safest, most identical protagonists across genres? Where are the cool cyborgs like Raiden? Cool powerhouses like Starkiller? Old school taking shit from nobody Kratos?
Damn.
These guys were serious, not in a grounded way, but in a way that you could finally play as a serious threat and a force of nature. Like video games are supposed to be. At least some of them. And not only heroes, but the same can be said for villains. Bring back villains with undeniable aura, like Virgil, Senator Armstrong, Wesker,
God
Darth
damn, the
Vader.
motherfucker swole.
Antagonists who felt like evil itself was walking among men, only for you, this cool, dark protagonist, to be the only hope to stop them. You may not enjoy this trope as much as I do, but maybe it's time to stop this and try something different. Who knows? I'm not saying it's the solution. All I'm saying is to give it a try. Just so you don't get sold to Tencent or Saudi Arabia.
W fucking video. Shut the fuck up. Good video. Like I said, I feel like yes, we're missing quote unquote edgy games, but I also feel like we shouldn't let that hold us back. Yeah, like we can appreciate it for what it was, but we can also grow. We can also expand upon it